Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Spiritual Psychics TV with me, your host, Ashley Robinson. This is Being Spiritual, your regular spiritualist philosophy show, and tonight we'll be doing some free readings as well. In particular, those of you that ask some really good questions are most likely to have the opportunity for a free reading tonight. We'll be doing a combination of sort of spiritualist, mediumship, psychic sort of card readings. And in exciting news, we are just 7 new followers away from, I think, from hitting 16,000 viewers. So it would be fantastic to get your support and get those extra viewings. Wouldn't it be great if during the live show tonight we managed to hit that 16,000 milestone? Of course, you could be joining us live on YouTube or Facebook, and wherever you are, please share this stream. On YouTube, we want you to participate in the show and the live chats. Make sure you've logged in. On Facebook, just simply make sure you're following SPTV UK and you are watching this live video on the main channel. You can then participate by writing your comments in the wall. Very shortly, producer Richard will give me sort of a screen opportunity so I can see what you can see, and I'll start to see your comments. And then throughout the show this evening, I will have your comments coming to me. I'll be able to see who's watching the show, and I'll have a bit of an interface there between YouTube and Facebook. But your comments will take a slight delay, folks. So, give me 10-15 seconds as an absolute minimum. Not everything can come through. But for example, Jennifer Smith has just said hi on YouTube. So I can say good evening to her and welcome to the show tonight. And a warm welcome to all of you. Friday the 26th of May. Where are you watching this show from tonight? I know that Elizabeth Jones is watching from South Wales. Good evening to you, Beth. Lovely to have you on the show. I don't know why I called you Beth there. Sorry, it's Elizabeth. Shelley Stewart says hi, Ashley. She's also saying hi to Jennifer. I love this community. I love the fact that you all have the opportunity. You're getting to know each other. This wonderful online congregation. Gracie, how's you? Not too shabby, Gracie. Thank you very much. I have had some very difficult circumstances in my personal life, folks, and I'm going to share a little bit about that later. But I'm feeling okay today. B on YouTube says hi to everybody. Hiya, B. Hiya, Tilly. Welcome to you. An umbrella in your profile picture. Hopefully won't need that today unless for the sun. Mo May, hope you're enjoying the sun. Yeah, too much this evening. I think I've been out this afternoon playing golf with spirit medium and celebrant Ivan Lee. Managed to catch a little bit of sun today. Lovely to have you, Mo, watching us this evening from the Atlantic coast. Wonderful. Margaret Thompson says hi from Glasgow. Great. So we've got people as far north as Glasgow tonight, and across the east and the west of the country over into Wales. Where else are you watching the show from tonight? Vienna Tracy, good evening to you. Any visitors across the pond this evening watching the show? Dad, Ray Robinson, how actually have a good show. Such a long time since saw my mum and dad a couple of hours ago. They've had Oscar for me today. Friday is my opportunity to parent my little baby, while Claire runs a soft play. So my wife Claire has rejuvenated Hatbridge Spiritualist Church, the sister church of Wimbledon. We've got a soft play called Play at the Bridge. We also have restarted our mediumship nights at Hackbridge Spiritualist Church, and my mum and dad have had little Oscar today. If you are in South London or Surrey, folks, we hope to see you physically now at Wimbledon or Hackbridge Spiritualist Church. Ashley Mills was our medium last night at Hackbridge. Ivan Lee is on the 29th of June, and just once a month the mediumship night's starting to get going up again, but we've got the opportunities for spiritual healing. We've got the under 5 soft play. It's really starting to develop quite nicely. Charlie Rose, good evening to you. We had a psychic supper last Saturday. Michelle Dearlove, Scott, and a few other members, Rose Anderson, me, my mum, had people to Hatbridge Spiritualist Church. And it was a really lovely evening. We were sort of celebrating the coronation of the King. We had this sort of high tea thing. Really good opportunity to get people together. So if you are close, we look forward to seeing you at the churches soon. If you're not close, we wish you well, and I send you my remote love and light. So, folks, do share this stream, particularly on Facebook. Let's see if we can get those extra 7 people to like and subscribe. Lorraine Chambers joining us from Ireland. Great. Hello, Lorraine. Welcome to you. Let's share this to our friends. Let's maybe tag a friend on Facebook and say, look, there's 7 away from hitting 16,000 people. Let's keep Spiritual Psychics TV free, 100% free. We do that by having a big, vibrant community like you who engage with us every week. Hello, Cafe Coffee. Good evening to you. if you have got your subscriptions on, have you liked and followed SPTV, folks? That double check that on the page in the background, and you can keep the Facebook sort of video live while you can quickly go off, check and investigate that. You can also on YouTube, you can share the hyperlink to the channel. You can tell your friends on WhatsApp groups if you're part of any spiritualist circles. Let them know you're watching a spiritualist philosophy show tonight. Also some free readings. Jackie Monday, good evening to you. So yeah, do that for me. Emma Jane Barat, is that Caldicott? Good evening to you. Hi, welcome. I'm going to even attempt to multitask it. I'm going to share it to my feed as well. Helen Lisa Davis from Bristol. Good evening, Helen. How are you? Kerry Ann, good evening to you. Welcome to the show tonight. Nolene the Free. Hi, Ashley. Good evening to you, Nolene. Jill Reynolds. Hiya. Welcome. B's in New Mexico. Hiya, B. Thanks for sharing. Okay. So I think most of the people's names that I've read so far represent a fairly good proportion. Emma Sloan, I won't be able to mention everyone's name specifically, but if you're watching the show, thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight. If you are here for the first time, do let us know. Tonight is an opportunity for you to ask me absolutely anything, any questions at all. Tonight we're going to cover, anything that you sort of bring in. Hi from the Northwest there, Sam. Good evening. I'm going to talk a little bit about some personal tragedy that has occurred in my life, and if there are any triggers as a result of what I'm about to share, then make sure you reach out to someone tonight and seek that help. Pamela Watson from Australia, New South Wales. Good evening to you. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Spiritualist Holy Communion service, which I ran last Sunday for the first time, and Spirit School, where we involved my children. Kathy's new and she shared. Thank you so much, Kathy. Good evening, Julie Caswell. Welcome to you. Welcome back, I should say. Welcome back to all my regular viewers. It's been a while since I was actually on the show. We're now back to fortnightly, folks. So on this time once a month. So every 4 weeks, I'll be doing a show like this. In between spiritualist questions, philosophy, we'll be doing free readings, and then 2 weeks in between that, we'll be doing more of a sort of a longer engagement show about a particular subject, and we'll pick a spiritualist theme, so you'll be able to dictate what sort of themes and arenas you want us to cover, and then we'll do some sort of readings at the end of that, but a sort of slightly longer segment. So tonight's a bit of a hybrid. Free readings, some card readings, some opportunities to chat, opportunities for you to get your questions in, and I think that I'm going to sort of start by just sort of talking a little bit more about what I was just saying. So in very sad and tragic news for me, my godson, Robert Hart, sadly took his own life about 2 weeks ago. Only 21 years old, and sadly got to a point that he felt the only way he could deal with the things that were going on in his life, those overwhelming experiences and pain, was to take his own life. So it's a very difficult time for all of us in his family. His mum and dad are both quite spiritual people and have a sort of belief in a system. And it's meant for me, hi Symmetry, it's meant for me, I've had to dig particularly deep into my own belief system to look for that comfort. I mean, obviously, I know he's in that place I call heaven. I know he has a life after this life. But, for regulars of this show, thank you, Emma, for the hugs. I've spoke about destiny. I've spoke about karma. I've spoke about this experience and everything we do having some sort of meaning. I've spoken about elements of destiny. And it's very difficult for me as his godfather to think that was meant to be. He was meant to have just 21 years on this earth, and he was meant to punch out at this point and all the experiences. And, personally, I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling to understand that would have been his absolute mission and purpose. I do know he had his own free will and accord. I do know that he had his own personal responsibility, and I do know that there was help available to him should he want it. But of course, he had to want to accept the help. He had to want to do things, and ultimately, he made decisions to end his life, which I absolutely respect. I am angry. I am gutted. I am feeling regret and guilt over whether or not we've done everything we possibly could have done. And I miss him. I miss him ever so much. And I've got the opportunity to conduct his funeral in 2 weeks today. And his mum and dad have asked me if I do it, and I'd be delighted to do it. It will be one of the first funerals I've actually flown solo on as a celebrant, and I think lots of you know I'm training to be an ordained minister. And Rob wasn't particularly religious. We had many hours of chats about the universe and whether or not there was a God. Rob didn't believe in a figurehead sort of called God. And even when I gave him my sort of energy explanation of God, he didn't really believe in that. Now, he did believe in something bigger than himself, and he did believe in energy. But we're going to do a funeral without God for Robert. And we're going to make sure we celebrate his life, the best parts of his life when he was at his best and his authentic self. And I mentioned to people that if me talking about that has been a trigger for anyone that has sort of had suicide either within their own life or within their family lives, then please continue to speak and to talk to people about it, because I do know that power of healing, that power of prayer has been of extreme value to me and his family at this time. If you have got the opportunity to send some love, light and absent healing now to his mother Marion and his father David, that would be very much appreciated. There's lots of his friends and his family that are missing him and are grieving at the moment. I know they'll all benefit from us collectively as a group, as a community, sending that love and light out. I would appreciate it, and I'm grateful for it. I also know that within spiritualism, we've got lots of counsellors, we've got lots of people in counselling. And I know that how important those things are too. My dad reminded us there, yeah, we're all on a journey. Yeah, absolutely. My mum and dad, you know, as well as being my parents and great parents and great listeners, my dad's training me with United Spiritualist Confederation or Fellowship to be a minister, and is also a counsellor. Leslie Moulton, watching the show tonight, trained me as a spiritual counsellor. I'm sort of digging deep into all my professional training as well as my sort of spiritual understandings and beliefs. And I also accept the fact that we're not meant to know and understand absolutely everything right now in this experience, you know, and that the life and experience of a human being is for the living. You know, our life after the change that our body goes through that we call death is the life after that life. But this life, this experience right now, it's for the living, and we need to live our lives, folks. I'm counting my blessings even more than I've ever done before. And certainly in and around Robert's death, you know, I picked up my kids and I hugged them that little bit longer and I kissed them that little bit longer. And I'm making sure that I dedicate the rest of my life and experience to taking nothing for granted, and for putting myself out there. And I like to think I gave Rob lots of opportunities. We've had, you know, some great memories and some great experiences. And, you know, without going too much into his personal life, people won't be surprised to know that he was tormented and at times suffered to overcome barriers within his own mental health as well as his physical health. And I know that he's got that peace. I know that he is exactly where he needs to be, and that everything he needs right now he's got. He's finally got that psychological support. I know that he was met in the comfort of his arms of his grandparents to look after him. Lorraine says, sorry for your loss. My brother died by suicide in 2020. 3 years on, I still feel all the emotions. I still see his face when we found him. I know exactly how you feel, and thank you for sharing. Sorry for your loss. Lorraine, thank you for sharing, and I'm sorry for your loss too. And, you know, it is a tough thing, and I know that lots of people within the Wimbledon congregation will know Marion well, and lots of you that know me would have met my godson Robert. You know, I played rugby with Rob as well. He was actually in Nottingham when he killed himself for university, and I know he's made lots of friends up there. But we're going to bring everyone together for a proper celebration of his life in a couple of weeks' time. And the reason I sort of wanted to share that was to sort of acknowledge it, to ask that the combined energy of this group send out that love and light. But I know we've got that power to do it. I also want to talk about that moment of experience and the experience of the right now, and the meaning of God, because, you know, I keep thinking about conversations I had with Rob about God, and I want to do a little bit more of that tonight. Now, Emma Sloan says 3 young school-age students in my county too took their life within a few weeks apart. Very sorry to hear that, Emma. And sadly, in the United Kingdom, the biggest killer of under 35s is death by suicide. I never knew that. until quite recently. Particularly, I think young men are dying more because of suicide than any other reason in the UK. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying that even in 2023 we still haven't quite sussed all this out. And I think it's going to be years that we're sending more research into mental health and neuro sort of diversities and other things within the mind that makes it all sort of compute. But yeah, keep sending that love and light. Thank you, Lily Rose, saying Godspeed to Rob. Very, very much appreciated. And if people want to talk about any of the other things I was saying there, the powers of healing, about suicide in general, then I'm happy to do that, because I've been asking all of my guides for more information. There were branches of religion who talk about, perhaps there being restrictions for people that take their own life, about not having the opportunity to progress. And I think that for me it was very important that as spiritualists we believe that the path of progression is open to absolutely everybody. And I know that that's exactly what he's doing. He's able to be at his best, and he's able to continue to progress. That was a major part of my faith, as well as the life after life, to know that he's safe, to know that he's well, to know that heaven is everything he needs it to be. I think from a point of destiny and experience, I'll leave it for another day. But I also believe that you can change destiny because of free will. So Shelley Stewart says, even if you believe there is better to come, sometimes the journey to get there is far too overwhelming for some people. It's a very sad time. Yeah, absolutely, Shelley. So yeah, destiny can be interrupted by your free will, by other people's free wills. If we were meant to follow destiny like a script, then we wouldn't have our minds and memories, scrubbed when we come into this body, this incarnation, for this experience. It's all about the things that happen right now, the way that we do it, and the way that we go forward. So I can talk more off some of those fringe subjects if people have some specific questions, and so we'll break up some of the questions then with some answers, and we'll also do some card readings for people that want that. Emma James just saying, my daughter's best friend at 15 did the same. The grief is still too hard for her. Very hard. And as a spiritualist medium, one of the greatest gifts that I can offer someone is that evidence of life after death. And I have done that. And I've had feedback from people that have said, you've given me evidence of this person's life after their death, which that they caused. Christine Palmer says, sending love, it's so hard when someone takes their own life. It leaves no one's feeling helpless and wishing they had done something. Yes, thank you, Christine, and thank you for saying that, and thank you for sending your love. It is very much appreciated. Emma Sloan said, hopefully he can contact with you and use the same. I was from, absolutely, Emma, and that was the sort of point I was getting at, because as a medium, when I've given evidence of people's lives in heaven, and their death has been as a result of them taking their own lives or from suicide, I know that Robert was being helped by someone else in the spirit world. So I won't reveal all the details, because all my private readings are private, and even the stuff I do in public, it's up to the people to share it. But there is someone from within our congregation at Wimbledon, and the service wasn't broadcast at that time, has given me permission to share elements of this. But because you forget almost everything you've said during your reading, she was able to contextualize it for me. But while I was giving her a communicator, and the communicator was in the spirit world as a result of a decision for her to take her own life, she was a young girl, and actually I felt that my godson was present in the church, and he was saying, "Oh, so you were right, Ash," and he was still giving me a bit of banter and a bit of teasing. I had my grandfather, swearing about his behaviour in the church, and I felt for me that was additional evidence of his life after life. I could also smell marijuana, which was one of the many smells associated with some of Robert's chapters in his life. But it was the fact that other people could smell it in the church as well. And the confirmation we had from the communicator that she was being chatted up by my godson in the waiting room that I call in heaven for the mediumship. And that actually she'd been there longer than him, and she was helping him. That was really important. And I like to believe that, he'll get to a point where he'll be able to help others, both while they're still living and those that find themselves fast in the spirit world. Christine, you were just sharing there that your father took his own life, and I'm sorry about that. And as I said, it was a bit of a warning, wasn't there, that this, if this is a trigger for anybody, please do talk to others, either talk within the community tonight. I found that there's certainly not enough suicide prevention hotlines, but there are some great teams out there, and there are some great supports. And if you Google this, you can start talking to people almost immediately about your own faults and how things are going. Diana has just shared that her daughter committed suicide a long time ago, and I still do not know why. Please, please help me, Diana. You know, and the fact is, we may never know why for sure they do it. What we do know, when we get evidence from people in the spirit world, is that they're in no rush to come back, and that actually heaven is everything they need it to be, and they get all of that support. It's not a natural thing in terms of the way that the the body, the brain, and the mind, when all the interfaces are working well, the urge to live, the urge to survive, that fight, that flight sort of instincts, all of that is the natural instinct for the body to continue to experience. And as spiritualists, we talk about the fact that we're here to experience everything, absolutely everything, to do that in pursuit of happiness. What we know when we hear from people in the spirit world is they're able to continue to progress, and they're able to continue to do that. But when you make a decision to take your own life, to end your experience prematurely, it's unnatural in that sense, and you take action to do it. And what we do know from a medical point of view, and I'm talking generically now, Diane, as opposed to your daughter, is that there's almost always something else going on psychologically within their mind or within their mental health, depression, anxiety, sadness, intrusive thoughts, and ultimately, even if they have belief or no belief in a life after this life, they just feel they can't cope in this body, in this this experience. But Diana, I will draw a card for you, and the card I've just drawn for you is the card of work. Okay, and this card for you, as I link in with you, and I look about the sort of the cogs in the wheel. This is obviously all about the machines, and we were just talking about interfaces. Okay, now I have a woman that is claiming to know his family. This woman's not claiming to be your daughter. They're claiming to be in the spirit world with your daughter, and they're talking about being a grandmother figure to them. They're taking me to your mum's side of the family. They give me the letter E for Echo. This lady's talking about passing herself with a heart-related problem, heart failure. The letter E, I say E, I don't know if it was an Emily or an Ellie, Amy. I've got that sort of sounding nays that was coming through. She's talking about being in the spirit world and saying, tell her she's here and she's absolutely fine. And she's still getting over the impact of entering the spirit world when she did. And this card is like there's still work to be done, that your daughter is working in the spirit world, that she is in good hands, and that we're looking after her. She's getting the therapy that she needs, and that the trauma of her life and her life experience is something that she's still working through and still getting over, and there is an opportunity for her to do that up here. There are the equivalent of spirit doctors and also spirit nurseries. She's also decided to regress, Diana, to a much younger age. I'm getting the age of around 8.5 to 9, which is talking about of absolute happiness, of that pursuit of happiness. And actually in the spirit world, she was able to reproduce her body without any of the imperfections. And this lady that's this communicator, talking about being this grandmother figure, is talking about your daughter doing that and producing a spirit self much younger, much happier times, and she's able to then continue to heal. I'm also getting an anniversary, Diana, with her of February. February would be quite important to you, both Valentine's Day in the middle of February and towards the end of the month. I feel there's also something important about a leap year around the 28th and 29th of February that they were just trying to draw my attention to. But keep working. I am a big part of the cog, says this grandmother figure. So Diana, thank you for your question. I hope that I've been able to answer it to a certain extent, and I hope you've understood your message and your card. So keep your questions coming, folks. So thank you for sharing. God bless you all for that. Lily Rose says these readings sometimes are the only things that heals those still here. I think they're massively powerful. Although I grew up in spiritualism with an absolute belief in life after death, the only people I'd known to sort of pass the spirit world up till I was about 18 were great grandparents. and I hadn't been to any funerals. But when I was 18, a friend of mine was killed. He'd been punched and he'd banged his head at a curb and died. And I also had an ex-girlfriend that died in a car crash. And for me, having evidence of both their lives after death from mediums that didn't know me was extremely uplifting, because even though I knew that that's where they went, once they communicated to me, it was even more powerful. And we know that when people come into the church, sometimes that's all they need to hear. You know, the message is not deeply strategic. It's a simple message like, I'm okay, or tell them I'm okay. I'm doing all right. Shelley says, when you're at that point, your mind cannot see the reason. No matter what anyone says, it could just be a split second. It's nobody's fault. Yeah, absolutely, Shelley. There is no blame in that. And we have to accept the fact that people have free will. Sometimes free will can be compromised by dependencies on alcohol or drugs. And, sometimes mental health and chemical imbalances. The vessel, if it's not perfect, and therefore the interface between the mind, the body, the soul is not quite right. The body's almost malfunctioning, and the vessel, producing this imbalance in chemicals can cause all sorts of psychological and sort of neurodiversity problems. We're still learning more about the neurodiversities, and autism and ADHD and sort of things like that, and still trying to find people the right help. Right, I'm going to segue into a slightly different subject. By all means, folks, do come up with other questions, something we were talking about. Mo's got a question which I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to start to talk a little bit about the Holy Communion and the Spirit School a couple of weeks ago. So Mo says, how can you start to blend with the energy of spirits you sense in your presence to better communicate with them? By sensing, I mean feeling cold when they are near. Thank you very much, Mo, for that question. I will also draw a card for you in a moment. So it all is about practice, 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 practice. We only get better at drawing if we practice. We only get better at reading if we practice. And if we spend 18 minutes a day on something new, and then you continue to repeat it, they say you can become a subject matter expert in that. So it's all about the dedication, finding the time to do it. And for me, it's all about attunement. So all of our opportunities to work with spirits, friends, energy, loved ones, all comes through our mind's eye, our pineal glands and things like that. And it's about opening up, and it's about tuning in, and therefore practicing on that attunement, and then learning to work with your guide team, and then your guide team learning to work with you, and then you working with the communicator, because every communicator will be at a slightly different frequency, a slightly different energy too. But when you're blending with the energy of spirit and you're sensing presence and you want to better communicate with them, just keep doing it. Listen and often, be consistent. If you have the opportunity, read for yourself. If you have the opportunity to sit in a circle with a circle leader, then do that either online at a local spiritualist church or centre. Head over to SPTV UK. There's a great directory and there's lots of resources there too. Reverend Leslie Moulton runs, guided meditations, and just finding that space, sitting in the power. Practice, 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 and then challenge your communicators. And for me, you can do that with individual communicators like we do as a spiritualist medium. But actually, once you're working with your guide team and you've worked out who your sort of principal guide is for communication and mediumship, then you interrogate them, and you get people to interrogate you. Interrogate your guides via you. Practice, practice, practice. Do the readings. Do the mediumship. The card I drew for you, Mo, is this beautiful card here of the peacock, libido, and we've got the peacock showing off the feathers, facing the other peacock in the flowers. It doesn't feel the need to do that, and we've got the snake in the grass. And in doing so, we think about the opportunity to shine. We also talk about ego. We talk about knowing when to use our ego. Our ego is important for getting us out of bed. Our libido is important for living our lives and bringing our sort of confidence. But peacocks in this sense, showing attention, drawing attention, flaunting themselves in this luxuriant way. Now we've got this peacock there that's doing that with pride, with confidence, a little bit cocksure, but a snake creeps through the foliage. And I want to talk about this snake in the grass. I've got this hissing of the snake in the grass. The fountain gashes up in the background of that card, and flowers blossom the beauty to flare. And the peacock that isn't showing their flowers is by those flowers. Libido is the Latin word for pleasures, and it's been used by psychologists to describe the upsurge of energy that is channeled into the sexual drive. Now, I'm not going to go into your sexual drive this evening, though. That is you to discover on your own. But the arts, if you think about sexual drive, we think about passion, we think about the arts, we think about other human activities involved in that emotional intelligence. This card for me stands, Mo, for you and for your freedom. Okay, and with this freedom around pleasure, the snake can either be seen as the serpent. Perhaps if we think about the medieval card, the snake in the serpent, when we talk about not sins, I don't like that word sin, but you know, if you talk about that, the biblical story of the apple and the snake, we can think about the snake as the serpent in that Garden of Eden, or as just a sort of joyous manifestation of the life force. This card implies an awakening and an awareness of self and the psychic force. Okay, so I want to talk about this power of the energy. I want to talk about you finding that and being comfortable with that energy as you find that inner energy in yourself and you practice that self-love. So I also want to say, Mo, you're much stronger than you think. I was just having someone whisper that to me from the spirit world. So, Mo, I hope that makes sense. And that was your message and a sort of good question. So, folks, a couple of weeks ago, Spirit School, I had my two boys, and I had the opportunity, Reverend Leslie Moulton's granddaughter, Danielle's daughter, and we spoke a little bit about spiritualism. We spoke a little bit about the principles of our church in sort of Wimbledon, and really quite fantastic opportunity. And we did some plain English interpretation of those principles. Oh, Mo says, freedom, very good card reading and answer to my question. Thank you very much. Mo, you are most welcome. When we went through the principles of the church, we asked my son, and my son Noah, we were talking about heaven. We were talking about what a great place heaven could be, what it potentially meant. And one of the things I just wanted to sort of mention was that when we were talking about heaven, and we were talking about the fact that, you know, progress is open to absolutely everybody, Noah suddenly said, if we're going to talk about heaven, Dad, I think we should talk about hell. He said, because if there is only one afterlife, then hell and heaven are the same place. So when people die, they all go to the same place. And I said, yeah, they do. Noah's 5 years old, by the way, folks. And I said, yeah, I do. He said, but Dad, if they were really nasty and they were really evil people that had lived a mean life, then they won't be in exactly the same place as everyone else that was good and well behaved. I said, oh yeah, I think that's probably true. And I said, perhaps they find themselves in a bit of a prison of their own making, Noah. He said, no, actually, Dad, he said, there is a police station in the clouds, and the angels make sure that everyone that was really mean, what they end up is they end up going to heaven, but they end up in the police station in heaven. He said, they can leave. And they can leave almost at any time, but they have to learn how to behave properly. And when they learn how to behave properly, they can progress. And actually, they get to leave. He said, but Dad, they don't even get locked up. Those doors are open. They could have left at any time. So they want to be there. And the angels in the police station, in the clouds, you know, keep them there. Now, I love that. I love that plain English sort of understanding of it. And when he was using the words of heaven and hell in sort of line with the progression. Because, you know, he's been brought up spiritualist, but he's also been brought up Catholic. He's at a Roman Catholic primary school, and they're talking to him and his brother at the moment about their first sort of Holy Communion. And I loved it. I loved the fact that we didn't even go to hell, and he went there because he'd heard that word, and as he heard the principles in the church about the open to progression, he came up with that sort of simple thing. So wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to see what you think. We talk about that path of progression being open. I mentioned that with Robert as well. I absolutely believe that. If we want to progress, we can. If we want to sit on a comfy couch by the fire, overlooking, you know, from the window in the cottage by the sea, we can do that too. Just take some water, folks. Lorraine says, do you think there was a contract before coming to Earth? E.g., we all have a plan before we come here and we choose how we exit. Lorraine, really good question. And although it doesn't directly link to what we're talking about, it's one of the things that I've been thinking about. You know, was all this meant to be? And my father and I have had conversations about sort of that concept before, and I want to sort of caveat by saying yes, I believe it is possible to choose how we enter, where we enter, to which family we enter. I think that we have an element of choosing how we may exit that life and experience. And I do believe in the concept of contracts, things that we're going to aim to achieve, and also believe in soul group contracts where we might agree to do a couple of these things together with similar people that we choose to incarnate with. Indeed, when my last son Oscar was born, he's one now. I've got a 5-year-old Noah and an 8-year-old Ethan. I had a beautiful poem from Shirley Monaco, our church. I call it Heaven's Gate, and it was all about the idea that in the same way we're sad when people leave Earth to go home to heaven, people in heaven are sad when people choose to incarnate as human beings. They miss them from the spirit world. And the concept of this poem was that Oscar, as the youngest son in my family, had been part of the spirit being energy group of Ethan and Noah that all chose, my wife and me as parents, that all chose to come down, that agreed their order, and that Oscar had been sad to say goodbye to Ethan first and then Noah, but said, I'll see you again soon. And they'd sort of said, almost waved goodbye at the Heaven's Gate. And that actually he entered when he did. That's an important sort of thing for me. And I love that inspired poem which Shirley had wrote. I also have evidence from the spirit world that before we were able to have Ethan, there was 2 little girls that wanted to be part of our family and weren't able to incarnate. My wife's body and womb were not strong enough at the time. The health was not straight, and the pregnancy never took. But I'm told from the spirit world by several different sources that the spirit being continued to develop, and actually as a spirit being choosing to incarnate as a human being, they continued to develop in a spirit world, and a new personality emerged as a result of that being choosing that life and incarnation. So yes, I believe it's all possible. I think that for those that watch my shows on reincarnation or on karma, and for those of you old enough to remember Blockbuster Video, it's the equivalent of going to Blockbuster Video, choosing some of your properties. And when I spoke about reincarnation, I said, if you can choose the properties, and you can choose to be a man or a woman, you can choose to be rich or poor, you can choose to be born in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, that in itself gives you thousands of possibilities when you start to mix them up. But when you start to say, I want blonde hair or brown hair, I want to be tall, I want to be short, I want to be thin, I want to be fat, I want to be close to water, away from water, all those millions of combinations of experiences that you could have, like that Blockbuster Video store in heaven, all of it I think is absolutely possible. I think there is more automated incarnation as opposed to reincarnation. There's like an automated incarnation, and I think because of free will, Lorraine, other people's free will can ruin our contract and we can come back and do it again, or we just change our mind, or we become distracted because we don't have that contract written down with us. Some people talk about finding it, don't they, and accessing the Akashic records and things like that. But I think that this life is about the life we're here now, and to a certain extent there can be a plan and there can be some sort of planning involved in destiny, but I don't think all of it happens as we plan from the spirit world all of the time. It's like imagine our tour guide, imagine our spirit guide is a tour guide, and in heaven you're like, right, I'm planning this trip to planet Earth and I'm going to have this experience, and your tour guide's like, okay, you're going to see all these amazing things, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do it with these people, and you're going to fall in love or fall out of love, you're going to be healthy, you're going to be sick. How does that sound? Oh, it sounds great, can't wait for it. And all of a sudden you arrive and you're like, I need to get in charge of this tour guide, it's not quite right, this isn't exactly as they told me it was going to be on the poster. Planet Earth is hard, isn't it? We're governed by absolute laws, and therefore it can be a really tricky experience. We don't have access to any of that memory, and indeed as soon as we're born we may even forget that the tour guide, the spirit guide, forget they even exist, let alone how to forget how to contact them. And it's only at that point of awakening and attunement where we remember there was a guide, and we try and find the guide, and we realize the guide was there the whole time trying to scream us through our intuition and our instincts to do the right things, to remember the contract, a piece of elastic pulling us along to make sure we got towards paradise and utopia. So yeah, absolutely, Lorraine, all of that absolutely possible. And the card I've drawn for you is this card. It is the Wheel, or the water wheel, whiskey. And I feel like the letter W is actually really important for you, Lorraine, because I was always like water, and I was like water, and I was like really struggling with my W's, like whiskey, 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 whiskey. And I don't think it was the drink; it was the letter W, and it's phonetically that was trying to come across and be explained to me. It's the water wheel. At the moment, as you're peering through the reeds, you can see the water wheel just starting to turn. We know behind the big strong wheel, holding the wheel, are lots of other smaller wheels, cogs. The idea of it being this wheel is part of something bigger. I want to say, Lorraine, of course, we're all part of something bigger. And this water mill turns in the stream and it drives the unseen mill and cogs and machinery all above it and behind it. There's a strong brick wall. We've got golden fish swimming among the reeds. And it's very difficult to see it the first time because your focus is on the wheel, the machine, the man, the water wheel that's turning. But there are beautiful fish in this water, golden fish swimming amongst the reed. And this card represents the principle of things endlessly changing, yet forever staying the same. It stands for consistency and it stands for persistence. And Lorraine, that card was for you. You want to know what they're called? So this card deck was my mother's. I call it my medieval deck. What is it actually called? The Great Game of the Human Heart. You can see this is a very worn box, folks. And these things are often, sold as guides. It says a guide to the understanding of the psychic cards, systems and symbols. And it is the sight card. So PSY. The Psi card, PSY, Papa Sierra Yankee cards, and it's the instruction booklet, The Great Game of the Human Heart. And I really like these ones because it's all like medieval images. And this book in particular is from London in England. They were produced, and these ones were written and drawn in 1989 by Network Limited. The illustrations on the card are by a lady called Maggie Keane, a British illustrator, was born in Liverpool in the northwest and has studied Anglo-Saxon and Celtic art, decoration and symbology at the University of College in London. Do you know, I'd never even read that before, Lorraine, so thank you for steering me in that direction. Let's take some water and then I'm going to take Emma's question. Emma Jane, do you believe you have a soul? Mate, like we are destined to meet people on our journey from the day we're placed on Earth. Emma, I believe, yes, it's absolutely possible. I don't think that soulmates are always meant to exist in the same experience and meet again. But I think when you meet them, you know. And I think that if we talk about the various experiences that are possible and choosing, and of course that believes the concept that you can choose, then there's an idea of, you have a great love life in one experience. When you get to heaven, you continue to enjoy that love. We hear that all the time from people. You decide you're both going to incarnate again, maybe after the second or third or fourth generation your family have reunited in heaven. You think, let's do it again. We enjoyed it so much. This time you be the man and I'll be the woman. And actually you incarnate an opportunity so that you can meet again. And actually something happens and one of you ends up coming home to heaven much earlier, and perhaps you decide to reincarnate immediately. And this time you end up coming back perhaps as the daughter of the person because you're experiencing unconditional love in a slightly different way. And I think that brothers and sisters perhaps in new lives might become mums and dads or even lovers or friends. And I think there are people in our life that we meet immediately, we shake their hands, we embrace them in a hug, and we get like an electric shock. And I feel like maybe it's our guide saying, oh, you've had previous bad experience with the personality or soul behind this character. And I think our intuition and instinct is quite powerful like that. I also think you meet some people and it's like as soon as they start talking or your eyes glimpse, you're like, I'm in instant love or admiration, or I'm instantly fond of that. People talk about soul flames, twin flames, soulmates. People talk about, trying to find each other. Hollywood have done a beautiful job of this a few times, but because we always arrive on this earth, naked, poor and penniless and in our adventure, there's so much free will that can get up in the wrong. I don't think it's an absolute necessity that soulmates have to keep meeting each other. But I do think there's an element of destiny at play. And I have experience of people living not just, dozens, but hundreds, if not thousands of lives where they're always married to each other. And I've heard that sort of story before, and I've also heard about soul groups. 20, 30 of you as a collection of spirits, always incarnating around the same time. So yeah, I personally think it's possible. I've had my own individual sort of evidence from regression and sort of meditation, and I've had evidence from other people that used to talk about this. The chairperson of my executive committee in the spirit world, who is, I believe, a man. I believe it is a man called Ralph Steadman, but it's a man that's claiming to be Ralph Steadman, because I was just about to say I haven't seen his passport, but he preempted me and he goes, "Here it is, it's me. Stop using that phrase." And Ralph, influences me on these shows now, but he used to talk a lot about this. And absolutely, it was absolutely possible. So the card I've drawn for you, Emma Jane, is the beautiful card of the sun. I'll be careful not to hold this too close to my face because it will start to go red again. Beautiful card. You've got people dancing and the maypole. The sun is there. There it is at the meridian in the middle of the day. It's had a good day. We're enjoying the sun. We're in the festivities. It rose in the east like it always does, and it's going to set again later in the west. And it stands high over this harvest field. There we are in the harvest field. You can see the corn. And within the harvest, we've got the ripe corn, we've got the cornflowers. Children are laughing and frolicking and skipping around. The sun, for me, in this element, stands for power. Okay. Now, I generally work like a solar panel. I work better in the sun, and I want to say that to you, Emma, that this is a power card. This is a power card for you, energy, and there are creative forces behind the universe. They are continuing to come your way. The sun, they sometimes talk about being a masculine energy or a male sign. It symbolizes confidence, success, influence all around it. It represents a conscious power of the intellect. And I want to say that this is coming your way as a blessing. We charge you up like the solar panel, Emma. The sun card for you is around that power. Okay. Emma Jane says, well, that was emotional. I would love to believe my child born after my dad's passing was sent to heal my mother's broken heart. I would love to know if they are together again and they have both passed. Thank you for your wisdom. I think it's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. And, thinking about, Shirley's poem at Heaven's Gate, thinking about my godson, Robert, first evidence of his life after life was Robert's grandfather, who showed himself to my dad and said, I've got him. I've got a boy. He's in safe hands. And that was really, really important and powerful. The day that Robert took his life was also the day that my brother-in-law brought life into this world after 9 months, or about 8.5 months of harvesting that energy inside, his partner's womb. They gave birth to a beautiful little girl. That circle of life. And is it pure coincidence, or was it to represent that within the family there would be this love, there would be this continuation of life? All of it, say, absolutely possible for me. Now, I'm going to read a poem to you. It's very, very short, Emma Jane and everyone else, but this is the poem that Shirley wrote. Okay, right, so listen to this, folks. I'm in the dark and in the warm, just waiting for my time to be born. My mummy and daddy waiting for me. I chose them for me to be. Two little brothers patiently wait, for I said goodbye to them at the gate, until it was right for me to join. The time is not long for us to wait, for me to join through the waiting gate. So that's by Shirley Monaco, a beautiful poem. I call it Heaven's Gate. Emma says she's just passed a master's degree. That sounds like a powerful card for me. You've absolutely got it, Emma. You've absolutely got it. Right. I want to talk a little bit about sort of spirit school continuation. Holy Communion. So we haven't done a Holy Communion at Women and Spiritualist Church since just before COVID. And it was fantastic to work with my mum and dad on rejuvenating the ceremony. My dad found the original ceremony from Richard Arthur Bush, our founder of Women and Spiritualist Church, over 100 years old. and we modernised some of the words which I'm going to share with you tonight. For those of you involved in spiritualism that have never seen a Holy Communion service, it actually isn't that normal. The vast majority of spiritual churches, certainly the SNU in the UK, Emma, you're very welcome, don't have any type of Holy Communion service at all. Lots of spiritualist churches do have divine services, and some of the Christian spiritualist churches that have their spiritualism on a foundation of Christianity do. Of course, within the Church of England, the Catholic Church, there is this element of Holy Communion. I mentioned my 8-year-old that's going for his first Holy Communion next month, and he's been learning all about Jesus and the Last Supper. So as we rewrote the service, we had this opportunity to sort of modernise some of the language and talk a little bit about the meaning. And I wanted to share a couple of bits from it, because part of me explaining the service, I'm going to explain to you now. Okay, so what I said to the congregation at the church, and in fact, one Sunday morning, folks, I will broadcast this probably in July or August. So Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, divine service. Every other week it's broadcast. I will synchronise diaries with producer, Mr. Richard, and I will make sure that you get to see a Holy Communion service online too. But I said, in this service, we remember the last meal that Jesus took with his disciples before his passing. In the symbolic act of sharing bread and wine, we stood nearer to him and to each other, and to those who come from the spirit world to be with us this morning, and in celebration of the lives of those who have now ascended to that place we call heaven. So you notice that, those first two lines, very Christian, really, have been sort of uttered in various languages for the last sort of 1,000 years. But actually, I was taking the opportunity with that to talk about the celebration of life. And I was able to go on a little bit further to talk about the sort of the explanations around what I thought the Holy Communion service could mean and what it could be about. We spoke about companionship. So there was a bit where I go on about for our companionship with those in the world of spirits, and for the revelation that there is a path of progress open to every human soul, we dedicate ourselves to thy service, asking that you will strengthen and uplift us, and that we may walk before thee in peace. That was part of a prayer during that service. We then had the opportunity, and for me, it was a fantastic service because I had my mum and dad coming up and serving communion with me. I'm just going to take some more water, folks. So hay fever's doing me in today. And my mum and dad come up. They took the bread and wine. They also did all the preparation for me, which I was really lucky about. And we spoke about what we were about to do. We then did it. We served the communion. And what I said is that in our communication service, we commemorate the Last Supper. And as he sat with his disciples, Jesus took a loaf of bread and said, "This loaf is a symbol of my body, and this bread is a symbol of the bread of life. As I break this bread, so shall my body be broken as a pattern of the children of the earth, who must give freely their lives in willing service to each other. As you eat this bread, so shall you eat the bread of life and never die." Blood is the life. This is the lifeblood of the grape. It is the symbol of the life those who give themselves in service. As you drink in faith, you partake in that life of us all. We share unconditional love. From henceforth, the bread shall be called remembrance bread, and the wine shall be called remembrance wine. But when you eat this bread and drink this wine, remember me. We also remember our loved ones whose life continues beyond that change we call death. I go on and do some prayers. Sorry, folks. And then I talk about a little bit more again about what this service actually means. And there was a bit of an address. In no age since the creation of human beings have the spirit world left us without witness. They have raised up holy men and women who have founded the great religions of the world. Modern spiritualism is about 175 years old, but we're going right back within the spiritualist teachings here that was written 100 years ago. We're going right back, and we're recognizing the human progress, the creation of religions. All these teachers and masters we revere, all taught us the same eternal and fundamental truths, and all were inspired by the spirit world. the same spirits of universal and unconditional love. And I absolutely love that, because it takes all of the ancient traditions without labeling the religion and talks about those gifts being from the universe and the spirit world. Spirit energy stands above humanity, ever guiding and inspiring. From time to time, our spirit friends, guides, and helpers have taken their abode in some pure person, well prepared for many lives to be a fit and abiding place for the spirit of love. Such a person includes now what some may refer to as the ascended master, like Jesus. In Jesus, some see Christ, and in Christ, some see God. But we're all reflections of that divine presence. In the beginning was energy, and energy was God, and energy was with God. Energy was in the beginning with God. All things were made through energy, and without energy was not anything that was made. And that was a Ralph Steadman quote from the Bible, where instead of talking about in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, he actually said the missing word was energy. Lily Rose says Jesus was a master medium. Absolutely. God, for me, is therefore the sum total of all of the primal particles of intelligent energy like itself in the universe. So we do not stress the death of Jesus, rather we look to his life. For the whole of his life was in service and an outpouring of himself in love for his life, and by example he might raise humanity. And therefore we accept the leadership of Jesus, who was a man, a human, and a teacher. But he, like many others before and after him, showed us the way of spiritual progress, teaching that by love and service to others, we can unfold our light, awakening within each of us. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And I know that, for me, I'm very proud to talk about Jesus as a teacher. Jesus there, Lily Rose saying, a medium. Jesus, a healer. And there are lots of fantastic evidence about how important he was as a person. And I don't detract from how important or how much value added. And at times I get into trouble when I encourage my 8-year-old who's going through his first Holy Communion classes to say that Jesus was a human just like you and me. And he died a human. But he rose again, because we all have a life after this life. And Jesus was telling us there is a life after death. And although my wife, who is the Catholic in the family, attends all of the classes with my son, the last couple of weeks she wasn't able to go. And I ended up sitting in a room in the side room of the church with one of the lay preachers. But I had to sit right in the front. And the guy picked on me, and we were talking about Jesus. And that's exactly what I said to him, that Jesus was telling us about life after death. And I thought, I'm going to get into trouble here. I'm going to burn into flames at any moment. And he looked at me and he said, absolutely. Jesus was here to bring us evidence of life after death, and to say that he would have a life after that death. And I thought it was brilliant. And I said to my wife, and I talk regularly, my wife and I have been together about 23 years now, talk regularly with a sort of Catholic side of family. There's nothing incompatible in spiritualism with any of the major religions of the world. Other religions or other viewpoints from within the scope of that religion may say that spiritualism is incompatible. They may even try and focus on important books like the Bible, but the Bible is full of misconceptions and it's full of contradictions. And for the 50 or 60 mentions you might find in the Bible that say you shouldn't go to a medium, there are other bits of the Bible that talk about how important Jesus as a medium was. So I really like that opportunity to do Holy Communion. I'm going to do it again, and it's great to see the sort of Holy Communion service, slightly different with us in our church. Now, Sally Ann says, we weren't forced to come back. We chose that. Do you agree or not, Ashley? I do agree, Sally. So I do think that we choose. I don't think you have to live the spirit world at all. I think it is a choice to come down and incarnate as a human being on earth. I agree with that. There's a beautiful thing. Birgitta Visser used to present a show on here called Ancient, was it Ancestors? Richard, you'd have to remind me now. Ancient Ancestors. She used to talk, she showed this video on YouTube of like two little schoolgirls almost telepathically communicating. It's as if they're in heaven talking about, why would you go to Earth? Earth is hard. It's quite fragile. There's all these difficult things. You can so many opportunities for it to all go wrong. Like, why would you want to go down there? She's like, I have to go down there because my friends are down there. My family have already chose to go down there. I need to go down there and help them. I want to be part of it. And I think that when we think about the opportunities of choice, when we think about your religion, and because I've been talking a lot today about my kids, we talk about Jesus as a teacher, and I think that when Jesus, was it over 2,000 years ago, trying to explain GCSE equivalent lesson in science, what is energy, I think it's very likely he found a sort of a likening of energy and fatherhood. And once he realized that people understood what father meant, he was able to talk about energy being father, or father being energy, and that actually as part of his teachings, he was able, rather than talk about energy, because people had the benefits of GCSE science, he was able to talk about father, and that father God, my father God, actually was all part of the same thing, and therefore God was the sum particle of all that energy, all of those sort of particles. And this is obviously my humble opinion, folks. If you believe in God as a figurehead, absolutely entitled to. I think that we should always respect, and I'm not trying to bash you with my beliefs. This is sort of my opinion and how I sort of interpret it from the sort of spiritualist philosophy point of view. But Sally, you asked a good question. Hopefully I've answered it. I'm going to draw a card for you, and it is the fortune card. There you are, on an upwards rising trajectory, on the winding staircase, holding the light which extinguishes the darkness, Sally Ann, heading towards your fortune. Life is a roller coaster for sure. I said that song. It is indeed a roller coaster. So there you are, in search of your fortune, and you have your lantern. And I think the light's really important in that card, because you are extinguishing the darkness. The seeker, Sally Ann, this is you. You are the seeker. Within my church family, we talk about spirit seeker, and head over to spiritseeker.co.uk, folks, or SPTV UK, and you'll find our events. We run a fantastic spiritual and psychic weekend retreat. Next one's in October in Stratford upon Avon, and we're going to probably do something in Wimbledon, more of a sort of less residential but a spirit seeker experience, and then back to Stratford upon Avon in October next year. But you are the spirit seeker with the lantern in your hand, and you are shown ascending a winding upwards and rising trajectory. This is about your progression. This is about your awakening. The treasure chest is waiting for you, Sally Ann. The card signifies the quest ending in fulfillment. It stands for success achieved by good luck, persistence, and an increase in wealth. And I want to say that, sadly, I don't think this is a pot of gold for you. Now, we don't do fortune telling, so I might be wrong, Sally. I don't think it's a pot of gold. I think this is about your utopia, about your paradise. And I want to say, keep on keeping on. You're on a winding staircase. You can't see the top there, but at the top of that is the result of your quest, your utopia, your paradise. Your awakening is a journey, and you're on that roller coaster, Sally Ann. That was your message, and that was your card. Seeking peace has been through such horrific times, getting to move out after trying for nearly 3 years. Thank you, Sally Ann, for sharing that and for giving me your confirmation and for giving me your verification. So, folks, I was telling you a little bit about the Holy Communion service then. What do you think? What do you think of our modernisation service? It's a work in progress. I need to go back to the drafting board with my mum and dad before the next one we'll do this summer. The final prayer within that Holy Communion service was the fact that we thank for the great leaders of the human race. And especially we thank for the coming of our elder brothers and sisters for their work on earth and their continuing leadership from the world of spirit. And I really liked that. And I love Richard Bush. We actually call the spirit school the Richard Bush Lyceum. Right. Jenny Morin says, at times I feel in tune with spirit and other times I don't. Am I doing something wrong? No. It's like a radio, and sometimes we're in tune, sometimes we're out of tune. If you think of the spirit world as a frequency, when you're able to tune into that frequency, briefly, you have found a frequency which you and the spirit world can act on a medium and you can interface. So you've got maybe a fast frequency in heaven, a slightly slower frequency. And, you know, if we're in the 3D and they're in the 5D, somewhere in the middle around the fourth dimension, we're blending and you're interfacing. So the fact you're in tune with them is great. Now, I don't think it's possible, and I don't think it's healthy, actually, to maintain that level of constant attunement all of the time. I think that any sort of discipline, when we talk about sitting in circles, both for healing and mediumship, you talk about being able to switch on and off. Now, what I want to say to you, Jenny, is think about it as a set of lights. Okay, so let's imagine that green is you communicating with the spirit world. Okay, and red is you sat on the sofa, Sunday afternoon, you know, Netflix and chill. I've got to be careful saying Netflix and chill. There's lots of meanings about that, isn't there? You know, innocently chilling with something on the telly. Right. Amber is then obviously that state or in the middle. Okay. Red, you sat on the couch. Green, attunement. And to go from red to green, you have to go through amber. Okay. It's like this sort of transition. In the army, I think it was Sergeant Cooper used to talk about the color codes of combat and conflict and contact. And the fact that when you're in a war zone, you couldn't be in red, you had to at least be in amber. From the spiritual point of view, I'm saying exactly the same thing. When we are working as a medium, we hover around amber, like a state of standby. And when we're really tired, we can go from amber to red and we can chill. We're safe. We're at home. We're safe. We're out our day, we're in amber, and every now and then we go to green because we're in amber and it's easy to get to green. And sometimes we find it easier and faster. But practice that level of attunement, practice the triggers that get you there. Ask your spirit team and your guide team to help get you there. One of my mediumship guides is a guy called Bear. Bear's full name was Running Bear. And I was always led to believe that when he was conceived and then incarnated as baby Bear, his dad had the shock of his life when, as he put his head out, I think it was a tent, as he put his head out the tent to say, yeah, the baby's born, he saw a running bear. Ah! And everyone was running for fear. And he called, you know, baby bear, Running Bear. Now, Running Bear, for me, my mediumship guide, used to talk about the fact that seeing a bear running from one side of my eye to the other would be this progression of me opening up. And that it used to take me ages to sort of meditate and imagine this sort of field where I'd see this bear. And I said to him, I need it to be faster. And that Running Bear became running water. And now all I need to do is sort of open my mind. And when I'm opening up, I see the running water, usually a water fountain of some sort, a waterfall. Boom, I've gone from amber to green. But of course, the longer I meditate, the more I'm able to concentrate that, the greater the power. And usually after a show like this, I've been working for over an hour now. So I've been in green for such a long time. The interface, I've got Ralph Steadman in my hero, I had Rob Hart, I'm sure, a minute ago, and my granddad. Everyone around me, it takes me a lot longer to get back into amber. So just keep practicing, keep doing what you're doing. There's a beautiful guided meditation, which I did on the show a little while ago, called Meet Your Gatekeeper. For me, a gatekeeper is almost like, if we're talking about dimensions between where we are right now as a human being and what I often refer to as the third dimension, wherever the spirit world meets us in our waiting room, and recently I've been calling that the fourth dimension, who's the gatekeeper between the 3 and the 4D, that's my guide team, and just keep working on them, keep having the identity. And the card I give you is the card of peace. May the peace be with you. Jenny, really important. And I love that in my I suppose it's not my Catholic church, but in the Catholic church, I love it when you turn around, peace be with you, and everyone shakes each other's hands. I love that. Absolutely fantastic thing. Yeah. If my secretary, mother, father, not mother, father, God, but actually mum and dad are watching this at home, can you take a note for me? Next Holy Communion service, let's make sure we get everyone to do a peace be with you, and they can all turn around and shake hands, because I love that. I love that exchange of energy. But peace be with you, Jenny. And I want to say force. May the force be with you. And I feel there's like a retaliation there, and the force be with you also. A great stained glass window in this card. It's beautiful, right at the bottom there of that picture. And it's flooded with light. Turn and face that light, okay? It's shining into a beautiful cathedral, okay? And you are there with peace. This card symbolizes growth, its knowledge, its development. It is the tree of life with its roots deep in the soil in the past, giving strength to its branches. It stands for tradition, protection, and strength of the family tree that links all men together. So as I give you this this card and I give you this piece, I talk about building yourself a cathedral for you to grow. Know your purpose, find that peace, recognize the authentic side of yourself, and know that it's really important and powerful to you to find that inner peace. Jenny, you are very, very welcome. God bless you. I want to say that piece. I feel that there's actually a monk, an old, very old Church of England monk that's just making himself aware to me. Jenny, I don't think he's particularly for you, but I feel like he's sort of almost popped in today. And he's like, I heard you talk, in a very common South London accent, as I sort of hear in my head. You know, not an ancient monk sort of voice too. He's like, I heard you guys, you know, talking about God and Jesus, and I've just popped along to say hello. Now, that wasn't actually a South London accent at all, was it? I don't know why I put on that accent. I just felt influenced by him. Well, Jenny, he is for you. And you would be aware of this this monk, a medicine monk, and that accent. I don't know if he's actually you would understand links to the middle of the country, possibly even around, you know, sort of like a bit of a Brummy accent. Not that that was my Brummy accent. And just blessing you. God bless you. And also bless you. He was like sort of repeating and those things. Okay, great. Thanks for the question, Jenny. Really, really good. In the next couple of minutes, folks, we're going to have some adverts. So that's your opportunity to find out about other amazing things happening on SPTV. Oh, no adverts tonight. I've already given you loads of adverts for SPTV UK, spiritseeker.co.uk, and also head over to my page at Ash Robinson Medium. You'll find me across all of the social media platforms. Kath says, my brother passed a year ago. Nothing has come through. Does he need time before he does? Kath, everyone needs to find their time, and people can communicate immediately. What I've found from personal experience of delivering messages from people that have ended up in the spirit world more premature than they meant to is that they need a bit of care, psychologically sort of speaking, as we'd understand it, you know, the mental health, they find themselves snapping, that they need that spiritual development growth. So absolutely, he may well. As I'm communicating with you, Kath, I've got a man that links in with me. Now, this man's not claiming to be a brother, but he is claiming to be family. He himself is a brother. He's given me the letter J. I'm so sorry, coughing. Let me mute myself for a second. Sorry for that, folks. Full of cold and flu at the beginning of the week and a bit of hay fever today. It's done me in. J for Jeff, which could be a G, couldn't it? Be good. Yeah, okay, it's a G. G for Jeff. I think you'll understand this letter G. This man's claiming to be family of you. He's also claiming to be a sibling. He's talking about uncle, and then talking about mum's side of the family. This man is. Okay, thank you very much. Take that away. I've got a real swelling around. Take that away. Oh, it was just giving me a sensation. I don't think it was him. And you don't have to say anything on here, Kath, but he was giving me the sensation of someone in the spirit world as a result of losing. So he's losing his head and losing his breath. Okay, and I've got like strangulation. Well, take that away. Thank you. He himself had suffered with breathing conditions, and I've had a tube of some sort which was put in the corner of my mouth when I passed to the spirit world. September was an important anniversary, I think, for a passing, and as all around approached that autumn, the colours of the leaves and the stuff changing. He's given the numbers 3 and 5 together, 35. I think 35 is important. I don't think it's a year of birth. Possibly it's a door number because I'm seeing it on what is like a blue background. And this man that claims to know that he's talking about being family is saying we've got him. Okay, we've got him. Well, he's up here. I've got him. I am him. Right. Okay. There's like blended energies here. If this person is your brother, right? Okay. Thank you. Okay, right, thank you. I think I've got several communicators. The person that's communicating is not your brother, Kath, but I believe your brother is very close to them, and he's saying he's okay. Okay, so I've got this man that's claiming to know you as family, that's talking about having someone that's claiming to be your brother with him, and he's got him, and he's very, very close, and you'd understand that evidence that he'd given you. He's talking about a telephone number, 6473 or something, 273. He was just telling me about that telephone number. You'd understand the importance of that as evidence, and that he's okay. He's absolutely okay. We've got him. I've got him. Everything's all right. I'd entered the spirit world not long before he had arrived, and I was there for him. Although we didn't know this was going to happen, when it did, we'd been aware, and people were watching him day and night. And when he did pass, we were with him. I feel like I've got a life-limiting condition with your brother, and there's something about the breathing and my airway. And I say I feel like I've had a tube or something added, and it's been quite difficult for that. So, Kath, hope you've understood your communicator, this man that's come through it's about family. It's talking about also being with your brother. This man himself was a brother. And then if it was your mum's brother that is in the spirit world, because he's talking about being an uncle, almost as if he would be an uncle to your brother. This would be his nephew. And he was giving the conditions around the breathing and the lungs and the stuff there around the telephone number. One other final thing, he was just talking about the appointment, which is coming up, Kath, you'd understand, Wednesday at 11:15. So 11:45. It was just showing me that as like something you've just seen. Have a look in your calendar. There's something that there's an appointment that's just been made, and he was just talking about them. We're all quite close to you, Kath. We send you a love and light. He's fine, and you know he is getting some help. There's some trauma that he has gone through in the passing to do with his condition. I feel it's like that's why he's talking about it being life limiting. He's gone through that trauma. We're looking after him. We've got him, Kath. Okay, and the answer is no. I'll just drew the no card for you. Bless, yes, life limiting. Oh wow, appointment, yes, just had an appointment. Okay, right. Thank you, Kath, for that verification. The card I drew just at the same time as the mediumship was no, and was like no, it wasn't him, because I asked. I said, was that him communicating? And no was the answer. So it was your family member that was communicating, but they got your brother very close to you. And Kath, you had the final opportunity for a question tonight, and that was the final reading of the night, folks. It's been absolutely fantastic to be back online with the fantastic Spiritual Psychics TV. I love this channel. I love this congregation. I love this community. Let's keep SPTV UK online. Let's make sure that we've got the opportunities to get together, because bringing spiritual people together is absolutely amazing. I love my spiritual family. My church family are what helping me through some difficult times in my life. I send my love and thanks to our producer Richard James, and gives so much of his time and energy to work really hard behind the scenes, enabling us and this platform, enabling this opportunity to do what we do. Some fantastic admins, Terry and co, that do that hard work as well. I'm grateful for all of you being here tonight on your Friday night. Share this channel. Let's hope. Did we get close to the 7, Richard? Are we almost at 16,000? Fingers crossed that we could almost be there. Keep sharing, keep liking, keep subscribing. Find us across all of the social media channels. That, my friends, is it. Love to you all. Good night.